Have you ever felt like this life is different? Like everything around you seems more intense, as if every detail carries weight and urgency? Have you had that strange feeling that this is in fact your last pass on Earth? Pause for a moment. Feel the silence echoing within you. Maybe at some point, alone or surrounded by others, a doubt whispered in your mind. What if everything, absolutely everything, is culminating now? The coincidences, the unexpected encounters, the deepest pains, and also the inexplicable flashes of joy. Have you ever noticed the strange sensation of being a foreigner in this world, not geographically, but existentially? As if you've walked here before, but now everything seems final, definitive, irreversible. These aren't just simple questions, they're doors. Doors to a mystery that spans generations, religions, and even time. It's no coincidence that thousands of people around the world report the same hunch. I feel like I'm here for the last time. If you've ever found yourself lost between a longing for something you don't remember or unexplained hunches, perhaps your destiny is to discover what few dare to ask. Are there secret signs that this is truly your last incarnation? Before we dive into those answers, I want to invite you. If at any point this video touches you, if it awakens something, a dormant memory, a feeling hard to put into words, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments, I feel this. That way, you become part of a community of seekers. Build this mystical space with me, and help spread this message to others who also need to hear it. Now, ready to dive into the mystery? Imagine there are clues, secret signs, almost imperceptible but recurring, scattered throughout your journey. Maybe you've ignored some, rationalized others, or even run from them, thinking they were just daydreams from a tired mind. But what if I told you that these signs are, in fact, coded messages, and that unraveling this enigma can transform not only your perspective, but also your destiny? Do you feel how the air seems different when we talk about mysteries? It's as if reality vibrates, waiting for someone to dare cross the veil. We are all born with questions that seem unanswerable. Why do some people feel such urgency to find meaning? Why do we so often look at the sky and feel, deep in our chests, a longing we can't name? Why do we have repetitive dreams, visions, a sense of I've lived this before, even without ever experiencing it? The human mind hates uncertainty. Psychology calls this the Zeigarnik effect. Your brain doesn't rest until it closes cycles, until it solves the mysteries that trouble it. That's what brought you here. You want answers. You want to feel like you're not alone in this search. You want, perhaps, a secret map, a roadmap that reveals one by one the signs that your soul is reaching the end of this earthly cycle. Many will tell you that life is an eternal return, a restless prison, a carousel where no one gets off. But what if, for some, this cycle was truly about to end? And what if there were clues held under lock and key, just waiting for you to learn to see them? Today, right here, I'm going to reveal these secrets to you. And with each sign, you'll be able to recognize yourself or not in this ancient enigma. Do you feel this suspense, this anticipation? It serves a purpose, to keep you attentive, with open eyes and soul. Because what's about to be revealed can transform everything you believe about yourself and about life. To understand what's at stake, we need to travel back in time. Get in touch with one of the most mysterious and fascinating minds of the 20th century, Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet. Have you ever heard of him? Imagine someone who, during a deep trance, could access invisible archives of the human soul. One person, but thousands of lives revealed in detailed accounts of reincarnation. Cayce wasn't a charlatan. He didn't present himself as enlightened. He was, above all, a seeker. Someone who, like you, was touched by questions that don't disappear. Where do we come from? Where are we going? And why do we come back? For years, Cayce helped ordinary people. Doctors, housewives, children, political leaders. In his sleep, he saw images, past lives, gestures, encounters, and partings recorded in the invisible field of existence. But there was a curious detail. In a few rare cases, he claimed that the soul was living its last journey on this planet. It was as if, after countless experiences and learnings, the cycle ended. Cayce said that when the soul learns everything it could here, it no longer needs to return to the earthly stage. It prepares for a next step. The unknown calls. And at that moment, Earth ceases to be a classroom and becomes a memory. Upon hearing these accounts, it's impossible not to imagine ourselves there, lying down, listening to the calm voice of the sleeping prophet. You are ready. You have fulfilled. It's time to transcend. These phrases echo, don't they? They awaken an ambiguous feeling, relief perhaps, but also fear. Because who, after all, is prepared to leave the familiar behind? If you feel you carry the weight of many lives, if nostalgia for something you don't remember accompanies you, perhaps Cayce's path is also yours. He reminds us that each life is a piece of the puzzle, and that one day the final image reveals itself to those who are truly attentive. But what does all this really mean? Are we trapped in an endless cycle, condemned to repeat mistakes and suffering for eternity? Or is there a greater meaning hidden between the lines of destiny? For centuries, religions and philosophies treated reincarnation as a kind of punishment or expiation. We return, they say, to pay debts, to purify ourselves, to atone for old mistakes. This heavy, dense idea transformed life into penance, and the future into an inescapable burden. But what if all this was just a limited view? How about we look at life as a journey, an invitation, a series of carefully chosen experiences, not for punishment, but for growth, for evolution, for expansion of who we are. Earth, then, would not be a prison. It would be rather a school, learning the true purpose. And one day, for some, graduation arrives. The cycle closes not because we made fewer mistakes, but because we loved more, forgave more, understood ourselves and others more deeply. Edgar Cayce, like other sages, invites us to see the reincarnational journey from a new angle. We are not here to suffer eternally. We are here to mature, refine our virtues, expand our consciousness, and who knows, reach the highest point of this cycle, integration. Modern neuroscience already indicates that our memories, our deepest emotions, create marks not only in this life, but inexplicably spill over into other existences. Quantum physics, in turn, suggests that consciousness and energy are never lost. They merely change form. What if, then, with each life we were approaching a specific frequency? And what if the last stage was when finally we fully resonated with this universal energy? Imagine if everything you experience, every loss, every encounter, every frustration or small miracle, was preparing you for something grand, the moment when you no longer need to return, the magical instant when you perceive the hidden meaning behind all pains and joys. In this new perspective, reincarnation is not punishment. It's opportunity. It's an offering. It's the path to freedom. And each of us, even if we don't know it, walks towards this portal, one step at a time. I want to know, have you felt this call? Have you had that moment of clarity where everything seems to make sense, even for just a second? Share with me in the comments. Because believe me, your experiences can help other people find answers they've been looking for their whole lives. Maybe now you're wondering, but after all, how do I know if I'm really close to the end of this journey? The ancients said that the signs are hidden in the details, in the echoes of feelings so personal that often we prefer to silence them. But today I want to reveal, one by one, the deepest signs that usually appear when the soul is living its last incarnation on earth. Allow yourself to listen to each sign with an open heart. Maybe you'll recognize yourself, maybe not. But if any of these experiences awaken something, know this, that's also an answer. Sign number 1, the persistent feeling of not belonging. Since childhood, everything around you seemed strange. The games, the conversations, even the dreams of others, nothing seemed to fit into your inner world. You went to school, attended parties, but carried with you the gaze of someone observing from outside, almost as if watching life through a window. This feeling of being out of place, as if the world were a play and you merely a spectator, is one of the most reported indicators by those near the end of this journey. It's not common loneliness, but a profound perception of being a stranger exactly where everyone calls home. Sign number 2, heightened intuition and intense déjà vus. Perhaps you repeatedly experience situations where everything feels familiar, even in unknown places. You know that inexplicable feeling when you encounter strangers as if they were old acquaintances, or that strong hunch that guides you in critical decisions, as if someone whispered directly into your ear. Researchers have shown that déjà vu is a fascinating neurological phenomenon, But in mystical experiences, many report that the closer the soul is to the end of its incarnational cycle, the more vivid and constant these memories of other lives become, serving as reminders that something bigger is happening behind the scenes of your existence. Sign number 3. Serene acceptance of impermanence. Those who approach the end of their journey on Earth begin to see death not as an enemy, but as a natural continuation of the evolutionary process. It's that quiet tranquility in the face of loss, that absence of fear of the unknown, as if the soul already knows, intuitively, that it's ready for the next stage. Many report an inexplicable peace in situations that, for others, would be a cause for despair. It doesn't mean apathy, but a deep understanding of the flow of life and the eternity of being. Sign number 4. Spontaneous desire to serve and love without expectation. When the soul matures, it understands that its greatest contribution is to sow kindness and compassion, not for ego, but for intuitive recognition of unity. The desire to help, even when no one is watching, is a mature sign of a consciousness that has already transcended the need for applause or rewards. Sign number 5. Growing disinterest in earthly conventions and disputes. Attachment to material things, vanity, the need to win or compete, the obsession with titles and possessions, all of this loses its charm. Pleasure then comes from connecting with oneself, from silent meditation, from contemplating nature, from moments when the ego dissolves and the self finally feels at home. These are just some of the signs that, when observed sincerely, begin to compose a mosaic of self-recognition. How many of them have you experienced? Which ones stirred your memory or subtly touched your soul? Write in the comments which signs resonate with you, and help others realize they are not alone on this path. But there's an even deeper detail. Each sign is not just a subjective experience. They translate something larger, something that unites us all as an infinite network of learnings and purposes. In the next step, we'll expand our view. Do you realize how each of these signs, despite being unique and intimate, is also shared, silently, by millions of people around the world? Yes, because the journey of the soul is, at the same time, personal and collective. Allow yourself to look beyond your own navel and see your experience as part of something much, much bigger. Think of all those times when the feeling of not belonging made you ask, "Why am I different?" Now imagine thousands of other souls, from different cultures, races, and contexts, feeling the same. Do you know what that means? That perhaps, even in your individuality, you are part of a collective movement of souls in transition. The path to the last incarnation is not solitary. It is shared on the invisible plane by a subtle fraternity of seekers, united by the desire to transcend. When your intuition shouts louder than your rational mind, when you see patterns, signs, and hunches that most people ignore, you are actually experiencing, firsthand, what the ancients called collective consciousness. It's as if, as we approach the end of the incarnational cycle, personal perception broadens, allowing a glimpse of the whole. Perhaps that's why interest in spiritual topics, universal philosophies, meditation, and self-knowledge increases. Your search ceases to be merely for personal answers and transforms into a desire to understand the human mystery as a whole. And when we talk about the serene acceptance of death, think, from the monks of the East to the indigenous sages of the Americas, all report the same silent transition from fear to peace. There's a point where the soul realizes that, beyond all selves, there is a universal identity, greater than any particular story. Death then ceases to be an end, to become natural continuity. Stories of near-death experiences studied by science reinforce this idea. Accounts of peace, light, reunion with something familiar, a return to an invisible home, waiting just beyond the veil. The yearning to serve and love, without expecting anything in return, is also a reflection of this collective maturation. As we reach the end of the line, we understand that, deep down, we are all one. Therefore, helping others becomes as natural as breathing. There is no longer separation. The joy of others is yours, the pain of others is also yours, and compassion becomes so spontaneous that it's impossible not to help. And finally, the detachment from earthly illusions, from accumulation, from status. Observe how this movement grows globally. More people opting for minimalism, simplicity, the conscious search for purpose. It is living proof that spiritual evolution is not an isolated phenomenon, but a silent wave that crosses generations, dissolving barriers, beliefs, and attachments. What you feel is important, but what you share and recognize in others is what truly allows you to transcend this experience. Your story is unique, but at the same time, universal. Your search for meaning, for the something greater, is the invisible thread that unites all seekers in the world. Have you ever experienced any of these signs intensely? Have you noticed how your path intertwines with that of other people, often without a single word being spoken? Share in the comments, and let's build together this feeling of belonging to something much bigger than ourselves. In the next topic, we will connect all of this to scientific discoveries that, surprisingly, are beginning to legitimize experiences that were once treated as mystical. Until recently, experiences reported by people who feel they are in their last incarnation would be considered delusions, products of a fertile imagination, or an escape from reality. But, surprisingly, science is beginning to shed light on phenomena that spirituality has revealed for millennia. Have you heard of quantum physics? Researchers in this field have discovered that consciousness is not merely a byproduct of the brain, but an active force capable of influencing matter itself. The double-slit experiment, for example, showed that the simple act of observing a particle alters its behavior. In other words, the presence of consciousness shapes reality. This suggests that our mind, in some way, is deeply connected to the fabric of the universe, and, perhaps, transcends the limits of the physical body and this life. Another advanced field is neuroscience, which focuses on the study of deep memories, emotions, and perceptions that transcend linear time. Experiences of déjà vu, recurring dreams, and even spontaneous memories of events never lived in this life can no longer be ignored or dismissed as simple coincidences. Scientists like Ian Stevenson from the University of Virginia have documented hundreds of cases of children who report precise details of past lives, facts later confirmed. The probabilities of this being pure invention are practically nil. Behavioral psychology also has something to say. Research on trauma and behavioral patterns shows that, even without conscious memories, we carry deep emotional memories, marks that influence our choices, our fears, our loves, and even what we seek in the world. When the soul approaches the end of the incarnational cycle, feelings of mission accomplished, lightness, and detachment from old issues often arise. This sense of fullness, reported by those who believe they are in their last incarnation, echoes the peak experiences described by psychologists like Abraham Maslow, states of expanded consciousness, constant peace, and almost mystical connection with the whole. But that's not all. Recent studies on altered states of consciousness, induced by deep meditation, show that the brain enters patterns similar to those experienced in near-death experiences and transcendental meditation. In this state, many report experiencing an unequivocal sense of unity, the dissolution of the individual self, and a reunion with something greater. It's not delusion, it's science confirming what mystics already knew. And what if we go further? What if the signs perceived by those approaching their last incarnation are, in fact, the side effect of an expanded consciousness tuned to the universal frequency? And what if déjà vu, the acceptance of death, spontaneous love, were not symptoms of escaping reality, but signs of the definitive maturity of being? Perhaps, finally, we are living a point of convergence between science and spirituality. The invisible world is beginning to be recognized, step by step, as just as real as the tangible. And everyone who feels this call, who experiences these signs, is actually treading the vanguard of evolution, uniting what should always have been one, reason and mystery. Have you reflected on this? Have you noticed how your intimate experiences connect with great scientific discoveries and ancient wisdom? Tell your story. Your voice is a fundamental piece in this mosaic of transformation that is happening now, right before our eyes and our souls. Imagine the scene. You're standing on a busy street, people rushing by, sounds of voices, honking, the aroma of coffee drifting from a nearby cafe. Suddenly, you feel a kind of internal deceleration. It's as if everything around you slows down. You observe unknown faces, but each one carries in their eyes a story you feel you've witnessed before. The feeling isn't one of strangeness, but of an unsettling familiarity, a silent recognition. Even without knowing their name, origin, or profession, it's as if, somewhere in time, these souls have crossed your path. This kind of experience isn't uncommon for souls nearing the end of their incarnational cycle. Sensitivity seems heightened. Every detail reveals itself with intensity. The touch of the wind, the texture of the ground underfoot, the light reflecting on leaves wet from the rain. You notice nuances of sounds, smells, and colors that, for others, go unnoticed. And it's precisely in this expansion of the senses that one of the greatest signs of spiritual maturity lies: full presence, that feeling of being totally and deeply in the now. Many report that, when walking in nature, there are moments when time disappears. The rustle of a leaf, the unexpected flight of a bird, the dance of dust illuminated by the sun, everything becomes a source of contemplation and reverence. Pleasure is no longer found in great achievements, in events that mark history, but in the minutiae of everyday life. Making tea, feeling the warmth of the cup in your hands, listening to the clinking of the spoon against the porcelain. The ordinary reveals itself as extraordinary for those who have learned to truly see. And at the same time, a sense of displacement is common. Sometimes the self perceives itself as a stranger in its own body, as if wearing borrowed clothes, nearing the time to return them. The mirror reflects more than a face. It reflects the journey of a soul transitioning between worlds. Dreams become more vivid, with atmospheres of places never visited in this life, encounters with unknown people who mysteriously transmit peace or teach lessons. There's a call to revisit childhood memories, not for futile nostalgia, but to reframe episodes, forgive old resentments, and bid farewell to pains with dignity. And there are even those who report moments of silent ecstasy, a serene joy without apparent reason, a simple satisfaction of existing, breathing, just being a witness to the passage of time. It's not resignation, it's subtle celebration. As if, looking at the starry sky, each star winked just to remind, you've come this far. Have you ever experienced such pauses? Have you felt that, even surrounded by people, there was a message just for you, encoded in the sparkle of a gaze, the scent of a flower, the smile of a stranger? Share these moments in the comments. They are valuable, unique, revealing the magic that only those who seek with their hearts can perceive. Now I want to speak directly to you. Yes, to you, who are listening to me right now, perhaps with a mix of curiosity, skepticism, or even emotion. I want to ask you, without beating around the bush, how much of the experiences I've described so far echo in your own story? Have you found yourself seeking answers that others prefer to avoid? Have you felt that inner urgency to find your purpose, even when the world seems to spin in another direction? Have you recognized in yourself signs, symptoms, small clues that your life is in fact a journey beyond? Pause for a few seconds. Let that episode you've never told anyone come to mind. That strange dream, the sudden hunch, the feeling of having completed a cycle, or perhaps that uncontrollable urge to serve, to help, not out of obligation but out of love. The desire to forgive deeply and leave in peace, like someone who knows that the time to move on is near. If even one of these feelings resonated with you, know this: you are not alone. You never were. Thousands, perhaps millions of people, in different languages, beliefs, and contexts, report similar experiences. There's a kind of silent fraternity, made of glances, gestures, and dreams. A brotherhood of seekers, who even without knowing it, share the same longing for home, the same hurry to break free from the cycle, and the same joy in realizing that there is indeed a something greater waiting beyond the veil. This is the moment to activate belonging, to recognize yourself in this collective mirror. Give voice to your experiences. Write in the comments, I recognize this in myself. Share, exchange stories. Together we form a circle of growth, healing, and understanding. With each story, each account, more people realize that they are not crazy, that they are not alone, that they are part of a grand process of transition. And if you still feel doubt, fear, or resistance, remember, every evolved soul has already walked the path of questioning before acceptance. There is no right or wrong in this process. There is sincerity before oneself. Perhaps by sharing your story, you allow another soul to find its own courage. Embrace this moment. Leave your mark, your presence, your voice. The encounter is sacred, and every recognition is one more step towards inner freedom. If this video is helping you feel part of something bigger, go ahead and like it, share it with anyone who needs to hear these words, and subscribe to continue this journey together. It makes all the difference for this channel to grow and for this collective energy of transformation to strengthen. We've reached the end of our journey, but in truth, this is just the beginning of a new stage in your search. Look back at each sign, each story, each shared feeling. Notice how everything connects, forming a grand mosaic of experiences, pains, longings, and discoveries. There's no denying it. The feeling of a last incarnation isn't a privilege of a few, nor an illusion of dreamers. It's the echo of the soul's maturation, the sign that finally you are ready to integrate all that you were, all that you are, and all that you can become. Reflect. All the coincidences, all the déjà vu, that quiet peace in the face of death, the urgency to serve, the detachment from the world's games, all of this points to one place, the center of your own consciousness, where the mystery of being resides. What seemed like a secret now reveals itself as the most intimate and common truth of all. The search for purpose, the desire for belonging, the feeling of something greater are not accidents. They are compasses. They are clues left by your deeper self, calling you back home. Science, with all its precision, is beginning to glimpse what spirituality has always known. We are energy. We are consciousness. We are travelers of time and space. Earth is not a prison. It's a training ground, a school, a grand celebration where everyone, one day, says goodbye. And when that moment comes, there is no pain. There is gratitude. There is joy for the path taken and serenity for the unknown that opens ahead. At this very moment, I want you to remember, everything you seek is already with you. The meaning is not outside. It's not in the next life, not even in the last. It's in every breath, in every gesture of compassion, in every look of understanding towards yourself and others. The last incarnation is not the end, but the celebration of everything you have become, the opportunity to be grateful, to forgive, to love, and finally to surrender to the mystery. So I invite you, take these reflections with you. Share in the comments your biggest discovery, the feeling that touched you most in this video, or that story still waiting to be told. Tag someone who needs to hear these words. Subscribe to continue this journey of self-knowledge and transcendence together. Subscribe to the channel and leave your like to access more stories like this. Remember, the search for meaning is the most beautiful adventure there is, and every step, every doubt, every certainty is a gift. You are not alone. We are all part of a great network of souls that, one day, awakens to what is greater. And when that happens, we can finally say, I am ready. Let this message echo within you, and who knows, inspire the next soul to remember that it already is, always has been, and always will be, light on its way back home. See you in the next video.